Well, welcome everyone to the 2021 Candidates Forum for the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. Appreciate all of you being here. My name is Jamie Hendricks, and I am the current president-elect of the AAUW here in Seaside. AAUW has a mission of inclusion and equity of women. Some of the things that we do in the community is partner with the school districts and do things such as mock interviews with students to prepare them for jobs in the job market. We also educate them on their higher education opportunities, which has been really great for the students in school. We also sponsor Wings, and if none of you have heard about Wings, it is an annual conference that they can go to and learn about career opportunities and education opportunities for women, and that is also sponsored with the Astoria AAUW and Clatsop Community College. So we actually hold it at the college. And lastly, one of the things that we are very focused on this year is the education aspect of getting young girls or women into school. And sitting next to me is Cindy Gold, who is the chair of our foundation. We have a scholarship foundation fund, and I will turn it over to her to talk a little bit more about it.
Well, thank you. I want to welcome all of you here for serving our community. I think it's great, and that's one of the reasons I moved to this area. We have a wonderfully small community, but a very involved one. So thank you for volunteering tonight to be here and to ultimately serve our community. So I work on the foundation, which is a 501c3 organization, and we gave our first scholarship in 1990. And we have since then given about 50 scholarships. And these scholarships have changed lives and helped dreams come true. Last year, we gave $5,000 to local women in our area. And these young ladies were all the first in their families to go to college. And they all went online, which I thought was pretty amazing, because if I'd been in their shoes, I don't know if I would have done it. And they went to Clatsop Community College, they went to Oregon State, and they went to the University of Oregon. They were pursuing their goals in engineering, nursing, and teaching. And for the first time this year, we're going to be able to give another scholarship for the first young lady to go to college in her family, to a Warrenton High School senior girl. So we're very excited about that. And the reason that we can do that is because the community has helped us so much in raising our funds. And so with that, we are a small organization with a big vision, and we need help. And I have here some envelopes. So if you're inspired this evening by our mission and what we're doing in the community, you can take one home and send it in to us and help some more young women in our community have a better future. So thank you again, and I think, hand this over to RJ, is that right?
It is. Thank you very much. I'm RJ Marx for the Seaside Signal, and I write for the Astorian, and I'm hosting the event tonight. I've got a fly here, just like Mike Pence. So, that fly will certainly cause some merriment tonight, I'm sure. We'll get right down to it. I listened to the excellent KMUN interview with you all yesterday, and I was interested in your openings, but by the time everybody was done talking, it was 40 minutes in, and we didn't get enough to enough issues. So I'd kind of like to sort of make this a more organic discussion and have some of that information about yourselves come out in your answers, rather than everybody go down the line and say who you are and what you do. But we do want to know what your positions are with the Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District, and we want to know your relationship with the park department. So this question comes from a reader. Please share how long you have been a member of the district and what facilities and/or programs you or your immediate family use and the frequency of usage. And why don't we start my left, Al? Would you like to start with this?
I've been a member of this community for about, I'll say 5 years. I came up from Northern California and made this my home for retirement. And we've enjoyed our stay here. It's beautiful, we love it, and I have no idea of moving anywhere else. And as far as the pool goes, my daughter and my grandson use the pool extensively. My grandson is about 2 years old, and he's learning to swim at the pool with my daughter. My daughter has used it extensively in the summertime. And right now, they've kind of cut back on it a little bit, only because my daughter is in nursing school, so it's taken up a lot of her time. But we do have the plans of going back to the pool and completing the swimming education for my grandson.
Sue Coddington, please.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you for hosting this. Number one, my journey to be involved with Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District starts in 1996, literally the 2 days after I moved here, when we found, and many of you have heard this, when we found that I needed an hour, and I see Mary Blake sitting here, I still give her praise for coming up with a unique solution to involve my daughter in the youth center to the pool, because I needed drop-in daycare for 1 hour, 5 days a week. And the amazing solution led to a life of almost 25 years of involvement with our Park and Recreation District. And that is to start with the pool, Sunset Pool, and then move beyond to all the various activities that were offered, like Easter egg hunts, and the funnest thing was going diving for pennies in the water. My daughter, being involved with swim team, turned into me being a swim parent, and so I was a timer, moving up to meet director, and then I got involved with stroke and turn judgment and or judging, excuse me, and finishing being a starter. So that was many years, and then my daughter, as she grew, she became an employee, being a lifeguard, a teacher, an assistant coach. She continued her swimming, so I was involved with various meets, including her in master swimming. And then we continued, and I said, this really keeps going. I was severely injured at work in 2016, and part of the physical therapy was water therapy, and I have continued that for the last 3 years. So I am in the pool, considering it's only open Monday through Friday, I'm in the pool 2 hours, 5 days a week. And that is my time at Sunset Pool. I come here and I lead a CERT Community Emergency Response Team meeting once a month. I've been involved with various exercise programs here, again, for strength and healing, and been involved with Girl Scouts with my daughter. So my family took full advantage of the various activities, and I most recently had a lot of fun helping out with the Easter egg hunt.
Thank you very much. Celeste, please.
Hi, thanks again for hosting. So let's see, I've been a member of the district, I suppose, since I was 4 years old, which is when my family first moved to Seaside. I moved away for some time when I went to school, but my husband and I relocated back here in 2003 permanently. And I have been a user of the pool over the years in lots of different ways. I actually learned to swim at the Sunset Pool when I was little, and used it as a little kid all the time. As an adult, I played water polo for about 5 years when there was a water polo program. I also used the pool to rehab after several knee injuries and ultimately a replacement. And went to some of the workout classes. My kids attended the daycare and the after-school programs. They also learned to swim at the pool. They played sports at Broadway Field. So the district has been integral to our family's life. Also, my office has used this building. We actually did an office event where we participated in pottery session in the room right here. So we've used lots of different parts of what the district has to offer. Most recently, I served on the budget committee for a year and have now served on the board of directors for a year.
Thank you, Celeste. John?
Thank you, and thanks to the AAUW for sponsoring this thing. I first started using Sunset Pool back in 2013. That was back when I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now and taking morphine 3 times a day for incredible back pain. Now, I have no pain at all due to the exercise routine I've developed for myself. I'm in that pool 3 times a week, every single week, without fail. All I can tell you is that the Sunset Pool helped me get my life back. I didn't used to be able to walk half a block. Now I can walk miles comfortably. And it's a whole different thing for one who's been in pain his entire life to be at my age, which is 68, and pain-free. And that's thanks to Sunset Pool. I, of course, am familiar with Bob Chisholm Center. The athletic fields that we have, there's an awful lot to SEPRD other than the pool. And it's a great organization for this community, and it's tremendous value to this community.
Thank you, John. Patrick?
Yeah, once again, thank you for hosting the forum. My family connection with the pool is mostly with our foster grandchild, and he swims in the pool. He learned to swim in the pool. He's also participated in, I think, almost all the Smart Start sports programs as well. But my main connection with the district is as a citizen, and I live in the community, and I want the Park District to be an exceptional asset for the community. I want the services of the district to be within the financial reach of all the citizens, and that's my main connection with the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael Hinton?
Thank you again for hosting us. I moved into the district in 1995 in Seaside, and prior to that, my family were already here in district facilities. I'm a former competitive swimmer, and I enjoy the pool. I'm not using as much as I used to. I enjoy the hot tub. I've appreciated the physical therapy that I've received in the warm water pool, thanks to Providence Physical Therapy. My wife very much enjoys yoga. COVID-19 has impaired a lot of the gatherings and social networking that she has been doing. She also enjoys the Tai Chi. When my grandchildren are here, they avail themselves of the pool quite often. It's a wonderful asset. I remember when I moved here, my mother had severe rheumatoid arthritis, and I said, well, Mom, there's the pool over there. Why don't you go back to the pool, you know? And my mom was worried about her hair, you know, so, but she has passed on now. I think the pool and all of our assets are in wonderful shape at this time. They've never really looked better. The water is sparkling. I just wish that more people could be coming right now and using the facilities. And I've kind of stayed back because I know that the lap swimming has been kind of, people, you know, want to get a slot. And I feel like as part of my stewardship that I need to let the clients go first. So, you know, that kind of sums that up. But I love the pool, and I love the Park District and everything that it means to the community.
Thank you. Jackie Evans?
To the AAUW for hosting us for this forum. My husband and I, much like Al, we retired here in 2015. We actually only joined in this last year, and of course it was right before the shutdown of COVID. Our intention was, as with my husband having had knee replacement surgery, was to use the learning pool for therapy. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to do that because he's had 2 additional surgeries through this year. I, however, swim like a rock, so I am not a pool user, but I do use the fitness center, and I am there 3 to 4 times a week. I had also planned to participate in the yoga classes, take up Tai Chi, heard from a friend of mine about she goes to her hip hop dancing class, and I would really like to engage in those when the time comes. I also have all intentions to joining the Southwester Garden Club when there's that opportunity. I really feel that whether it's the board or if I have the opportunity to serve, I want to make sure that this continues to be the heart of the community.
Thank you. Erica Marshall-Hamer.
So similar to Celeste, I grew up in Seaside, so I've 39 years of experience with the Park and Rec District. My parents are Wally and Jenny Hamer. They've been teachers and coaches in this community for 45 years, I would say, and also coaches for the Park and Rec Department. My mom taught gymnastics when I was a little kid for the Park and Rec Department in Broadway Middle School, so I have really fond memories of just growing up, learning to swim in the pool and all the egg hunts, all the things that they offered. More recently, my kids have attended the childcare and the preschool and are now older, but they learned to swim in the pool as well. I also coached the Smart Start sports for the Park and Rec for about 5 years. My other fellow coach is here tonight too. And that was a really great experience for 3 to 5 year olds to really, have a great foundation with athletics. And I think just, pickleball is a big hobby of mine, and other just the rec center, similar to Jackie. I'm not much of a swimmer, unfortunately, but I think otherwise I've used every piece of that property and every program over, my lifespan. Right now I'm coaching with a lot of the affiliates for the Park and Rec, LCYSA, Seaside Kids, Riptide Sports, PBL, so just continuing to coach, and I'm serving on the board since August for the Park and Rec Department.
Thank you. Stephen Morrison.
Thank you. There we go. I am currently haven't been to the pool, but I've lived vicariously through my wife. She, before the pandemic, she was using it extensively and for rehabilitation. And I've been started volunteering now. I've been physically out of commission for the last couple of years. I've been here for 4 years, moved from Portland. And so I probably will join the pool now that my doctors have given me the okay to, or actually told me that I should be going to the pool. So it's actually becoming a requirement, so I will be joining. But my wife really enjoyed the pool and really talked highly about it, and I think it's a real asset to the community. Talking to all the people in the city, especially now that I've been running for the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Catherine Parker.
Thank you, Jamie, Cindy, and RJ for putting this together. Truly appreciate it. I have been in the community since 2003 when I moved here with my husband. We briefly moved away from 2012 to 2016, and we moved back with our 2 daughters. And that was really when I started interacting with the Park and Rec, was for swim lessons. It's, being next to the ocean and the rivers and lakes, it's imperative that my children learn to swim. We have used the preschool, we have used the aftercare programs, the summer camps, every Start Smart sport there is. I have taken ceramics for many, many years, ever since Darren was teaching. I have been serving on the board since December of 2019, and before that I was on the budget committee. We are frequent renters of the facilities. This is a fabulous birthday room. We rent the pool for birthday parties. We've been to pretty much every event that the Park and Rec puts on because they make fabulous events, and we've just thoroughly enjoyed being a part of this community and part of the Parks and Rec District. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to throw One interesting thing about this election for everybody that's been following it is that the way we have basically 5 incumbents and 5 challengers, and the 5 challengers have wrapped around a certain set of principles, and I would say that the 5 incumbents also. So I'd like to get, of the 5 challengers, Al, John, Patrick, Jackie, and Stephen, would one of you like to step forward, raise your hand, and just tell me what your group, explain what your group is? Talking to the mic.
Yeah, I don't think we all have the same issues that we're all concerned with. We decided to work together because we met in Citizens for Transparency, and I think I was the first one that registered, and there were other people in that said, yeah, I want to get in here and do this too. We all bring different skills, we all bring slightly different interests, and I think the better question for you to ask is what is important to each of us. You'd learn more that way.
So you would say that there's not a shared set of value. I mean, you've got your 5 pictures on the thing together.
No, I would not say there's one philosophy that we all agree with completely. We all do different things that we're interested in pursuing. When each of us looks at what the other is interested in and say, yeah, I can see that, but I'm not capable of leading it like you are. So I'll leave that part to you. There's an awful lot to SEPRD. So it's not like there's one philosophy that's going to answer everything.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Does anybody else from that group want to answer that question? Do you see a set of common principles among you?
I think the common principle is that the district board should provide the foresight for the district, should provide some insight towards its future, and to provide oversight over how things are run. I mean, that's your basic board philosophy that kind of a common core value, if nothing else, that a board should abide by. And I think if we all have different, like John said, we all have different ideals of what that means and how to accomplish that. But I think that is a common tie as to maybe a philosophy of just how a board should operate.
Al, go ahead.
Yes, I think what happens here also with our group is we all have different strengths. We all have different perspectives. Like, for example, my strength is accounting, finance, review of budgets, and things of that nature. Every one of our members has slightly different specialties. And I got involved deeply in this because I didn't see transparency taking place. You know, I kept seeing financials that were wrong and erroneous, yet the board kept approving them. Why? I see the audited financial statement at year end by the auditors. Only the opinion page was rendered. None of the financial statements, no CAFR, no income statement, no balance sheet. Again, why not? I mean, is that transparent? No, it's not transparent. And so that causes me a lot of concern. I see the monthly financial statement. It's very difficult to read for the average layman. I can read it, but I know to really decipher it, it's going to take me hours and hours to really decipher it. And I know the opposition is going to say, yes, they have legal guidelines to follow, and they have to follow the legal guidelines. Well, you know what? The guidelines are only a minimum standard. And it's up to the board, and they have the flexibility to expand on it and make that more user-friendly. And that's what we need, a user-friendly financial report and information, and not hide the information. That is not transparent. And my goal is to get transparency. I'm here because of transparency, basically, and I like to have questions answered. Too many of my questions have gone unanswered by the board and staff. So I wonder why. What's going on? Is there another agenda out there?
To members of the incumbency, do you have a response to what they're saying? Is there a lack of transparency about the numbers and other information?
Well, so you want it specifically about the transparency piece?
Well,
Yeah.
some of the things you've heard just now.
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the things, and I think so as a board, so this board of directors for the district has had several years of chaos. There's been a lot of difficulty and high turnover with the board of directors in the previous, I'd say, 5 years or so. At least that's as far as I've dug. And so when this board was assembled, and some of us were appointed because there was turnover and empty seats. And so when this board was assembled, I think the first matter of business that the existing board did was that we sat down and we committed ourselves to better self-governance. And we actually wrote a series of community commitments, which we've posted to the community and have done a lot of work to make sure that we live up to those commitments. And that included better communication with the community and providing transparency where we can, but it also included being able to speak to the community and to the staff with one voice, which we all thought was important for good governance. And so that does mean that sometimes it takes us a while to answer some questions, because we don't sort of go out on a limb individually and answer questions. So we've worked really hard to work well together. I think our group, as we thought about campaigning for this particular election, did identify 4 different kind of values that we wanted to dedicate ourselves to, and that was one. It was teamwork. We are very proud of the fact that we've strengthened the supervision and support for the executive director. We have a great collaborative relationship with staff. We all believe that diverse programming is important to the district, and we believe that it isn't just about the pool, it is about the wide variety of programming that the pool offers. We're also all for a bold vision for the district. We believe that the Sunset Recreation Center, which was formerly Broadway Middle School, offers great potential for our community. And then finally, we embrace fiscal responsibility. We are currently despite the pandemic, we're in the strongest financial position that we've experienced in the whole district's history. And we're really proud of that. And I think this board has worked hard to ensure that we conduct ourselves well and have fiduciary oversight of the district to make sure that the district is sustainable.
Michael, can I ask you a question? You've been the longest running board member here, and you just heard Celeste describe relative chaos over the last few years. Would you agree with that assessment? And how has, would you agree that the board is unified at this point, and how is that an advantage?
It's been unusual, thank you. I feel like a survivor. We've had turnover on the board and leadership on the board. Incidents that occurred, directors with employee complaints of sexual harassment, management director, an interest in his business rather than another director, and so on, and that kind of thing. We've had some issues with decorum. I think Catherine Parker will recall some of that. And we've set rules for decorum to conduct our meetings and try to conduct ourselves. We are representative of the district. We do have strong values for community, investment. Right now, we are reaping some of that social capital, if you will, and the equity being the young people that we're bringing into leadership in the community. Youth development is very important to me. This is one of the values that's inherent in the Park District, thanks to Mary Blake's leadership, and which has been transferred up from Justin Cutler to Scotter. So, I would like to promote that, as really being the most important thing. But yes, there have been some issues. Right now, I strive for that.
Do any of the incumbents believe that, or have an opinion on, if one of the challengers wins, you're going to have obviously a little more difference of opinion on certain issues. Do you think that will hinder the way that you work together, or do you think you can integrate with different viewpoints?
I think for me, it's just staying positive, right, and working together. I don't think there's anything wrong with diverse perspectives. That's what you want from a board. You want diverse experience. You want diverse opinions and perspectives. But I think what scares me, just to be honest, is the negativity that I hear coming from some of the people up here. You know, our community right now is at a really critical point in history. Our whole country is, right? I mean, we've never experienced what we're experiencing. And if we don't come together and stay positive and professional, you know, then yeah, I think that is scary. But I would really welcome the diverse perspectives and having a difference of opinion, as long as we can do it with positivity and unity.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something regarding
Sure.
that.
Go ahead.
I have been on the board, I was appointed a year ago, and the concern I saw was a lack of decorum. And I am the one who brought that as an issue, that we need to speak rather than yell at each other. And my first meeting, I was on the phone, and I thought, oh my goodness, people are yelling because I'm on the phone. And it turned out that was an order of business. And so I added decorum to bring about some form of control and, you know, tone it down. So, because if people are raising their voices, you're not necessarily getting your message heard. One of my strengths is communication. When you look at yelling at somebody, they aren't learning, they are in a fear response, and that's not conducive to business. So a decorum was added to the agenda, and it changed, and as the board changed, we are 5 diverse people that come together with 5 different backgrounds, and we work together, and we work very well. I would like to bring up a topic regarding transparency, if I may.
Certainly.
The concern I have is recently we have been given information that Mr. Hernandez is not a valid candidate for the position, and I did my own due diligence yesterday when going up to the county clerk's office and having a conversation. I've seen some emails, and I am very concerned that the fact is the information has been given and was given to me through emails that his address being in Gerhardt means that he is not a valid candidate for an election in this district. And the concern I have for that is this is my first candidate forum, my first time to run for office. I look forward to not being distracted by something like that and really having an honest debate of integrity and people's values, so the voter, hi there Seaside, the voter can have a true option for a choice. And it is concerning to me that at this time, based on the information I was given yesterday and in communication with the Secretary of State, at this time, this candidate, because of his address, is not valid for the election, but it was too late to remove him from the ballot, etc. So it's confusing to the voter, and it's frustrating to me because part of my background and part of my values are integrity and honesty, and we all filled out the same form. My address is in Seaside, and this gentleman has a Gerhardt residence. I am frustrated that we had people calling, asking, hey, I'm interested in a board position, but I live here outside of the boundaries, so they did not apply because the rules are the rules. We have precedent in history with our board that people who have moved out of the district have had to resign because they are out of district.
We've got Al right next to you, so why don't,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez, would you like to respond?
Yeah, like I said, I hate to have clouds issue like this, clouding something that's important as this election. I mean, at the end of the day, what transpired is this. I consider my permanent home is Seaside. About a year ago or so, my wife and I decided to do some major remodeling. And so, knowing that the remodeling would take a couple of years, we decided to buy another home to where we could live for a short period of time while the remodeling was taking place. COVID comes about, everything comes to a halt. Businesses start to not to fail, but the economy turns downwards. So I don't want to move forward with a major investment not knowing the income flows that we are experiencing are going to maintain, or are they going to shrink, what's going to happen. So we put a hold on it. But I still consider Seaside my permanent address. I have never changed my voter registration. When I got here, 5 years ago approximately, I lived in Washington State for about 9 months, but I still considered at that time San Luis Obispo as my permanent residence. So I would vote in San Luis Obispo County and did everything I needed to do in San Luis Obispo County. Yet, I was living in Washington State 7 days a week, every day. I was working here in Oregon and paying my personal taxes in Oregon, just like any other good taxpayer would pay, but I didn't consider this my permanent address, so I'd never changed my registration. Again, the same thing happened a few years prior to that. I worked in the Los Angeles area for about, seemed like 4 years. Lived in LA and slept there 5-6 nights a week, but I still considered San Luis Obispo my permanent address. Did I change my residence to Los Angeles? No, I didn't, because that was not my residence. My residence was in San Luis Obispo. So I remained a San Luis Obispo resident, a San Luis Obispo voter. And the same thing is happening here, only this time it's because I want to do some remodeling, and therefore I changed it. But I have never changed my voter registration, and I think what happened is the voter registration was somehow adjusted or changed somewhere along the line because they either registered a car or something like that. Because we buy cars and we sell cars a lot, so there's always always a registration that's involved with it. But I don't know why it got changed originally. All I know is that I consider Seaside to be my permanent residence. And accordingly, I feel I'm eligible to vote.
Thank you. I'd like to ask either Stephen or Jackie about Broadway Middle School. Now that the school has been purchased, what do you think should be done with it? Do you think what should the district do?
Obviously, what's done is done, and I've listened to the board as to really what their vision is with that, and I think it's well-intentioned. I can understand that there are a lot of needs in our community, especially with daycare, because as we know, there is a drought in this area for that. However, I do have concerns. There's been a lot of talk about the hazardous materials within the school. I'm not focused solely on that. I am focused on the condition of the building. It goes beyond those materials. The inspection reports show that the roof is in poor condition. It shows that all the windows are leaking, that there's exterior cracks that have led to leakage into the interior walls. Diamond Heating did a cost estimate to replace the heating and air system, and it's an estimate of $500,000 to $750,000 to replace that with a lifespan of 5 to 10 years. I would like to see that building be something that is useful for our community, but I have some great concerns about how you're going to recoup those costs and offset them. Yes, I know that you're looking at leasing out part of it, but I think whatever the construction is of the new board, we really have to look at that very closely, decide what it is we can and cannot do. The other thing that I find concerning is as I've been campaigning and talking to our citizens, they are very angry about that purchase. And I had one gentleman say to me, now I'm paying taxes for that building twice. So that's the sense. But whoever comprises the board, and as you well said, Erica, we have to work together. I'm used to collaborating with whatever group. Trust me, in 40 years of Fred Meyer, you learn to adapt to whatever leadership group that you're a part of. And so you come together to do the right thing for who you're responsible for. In this case, we're responsible for representing our community and bringing them good programs. So it is yet to be seen.
Thank you. Stephen, did you want to comment on that?
The school is purchased. There's no going back. So I really don't have any comment about the process that got there, but it is there. So now the concern is how is it going to be utilized? How is it going to be fixed? We've got a lot of issues with the building itself, but I think these can be overcome. But big question for me is cost to the taxpayer. So it's going to take a lot of insight. It's going to take a lot of studies. It's going to be hard to figure out how to utilize that building. And to be honest with you, I think the group has got a good start on it. But it needs to be brought to the public. The public needs to be informed about what's going on. And I don't think that's, I haven't heard a lot about remediation. Questions that have come up about, just in the general public, have come up, well, how can they move children into a school that may be contaminated? Well, there's reasons for that. But I haven't heard any comment from as a citizen, as a comment from the district, SEPRD, about how it is safe for the children. It's probably safe because all this stuff is encapsulated and so on and so forth. But that's where I think people need to be told about what's going on. They need to be informed. They need a newsletter. They need information, and then move forward from there. And that's my major concern, is that the general public doesn't know what's going on there.
John, you've gone so far as to suggest that the building should not be even fit for occupancy. Is that something you stand by?
We do know that it's contaminated with asbestos, black mold, lead paint. The second thing that's happened is the insurance carrier for the district told the district to take care of remediation, among other things, before occupying the building. Third, there's no engineering firm out there that will certify Broadway Middle School is safe to occupy. Why? Well, science tells us that no exposure to asbestos can be considered safe. I would invite all of you to Google it yourself and look it up. I feel that until an engineering firm will certify the safety of occupying Broadway Middle School, we shouldn't allow anyone in the building, especially the most vulnerable among us, the little kids.
Would somebody like to respond to that, Erica?
I would. I think what's interesting to me, I mean, growing up here, I basically lived in that school for the last 39 years of my life and went to school there. And what I find interesting is that none of these people who are now have an issue with the asbestos seem to have an issue when kids were in school there just less than 2 years ago. So, you know, we've seen from the reports that the asbestos is contained in the floor. We are not utilizing the old part of the building. We are only utilizing the building that was constructed in 1994. So I think that kind of misinformation right now, it is frustrating, and it's just basically not true. And it is a little bit hurtful to me that after going to school there for so many years, you know, it didn't seem like anyone seemed to care at that point about the kids.
I'd like to add on to that. I think, so first of all, I would like to know from my fellow candidates, or the opposition candidates, how many of you have actually been into the school? Because I was really surprised to find out that my opponent had not been into the school prior to me taking him on a personal tour to see the school. So I think to be spreading misinformation about the school is really unfair. Most of the school was built in 1994 after both lead and asbestos were banned in Oregon. So most of the school and the parts of the school that are being used for childcare and youth programming aren't in the part of the building that contain asbestos. For those parts of the building, the asbestos is contained. And until it is removed or displaced, it doesn't pose a danger, and the young people are not in that part of the building. We know that there are problems with the building. The board has been clear that there are problems with the building, and we do have plans and ideas about how to handle remediation. Those have been discussed. We've hired contractors, hundreds of hours of contractors and consultants to help us figure out the best path forward with this building. I think the difficult thing for our board is, as our board is tried to have a bold vision for what this property can do at the heart of our community and what it can bring to our community, it's just really tough to have the misinformation being passed on by our opposition.
Michael.
I could just reply to that quickly. Just get an engineering firm to certify that it's safe to occupy Broadway Middle School. That's all you need to do. That's exactly what.
Yeah, engineering firms don't certify that. So I think that's, again, just incorrect information. So,
I would like to add something, because I was on this board a year ago when it did not include two of the members that are currently present. At that time, there was a discussion about Broadway Middle School, and it was brought to my attention that my children, now grown adults, had gone to school in a building with asbestos, and that alarmed me, because when I bought a house in Seaside, it had asbestos in it, and I had to take care of it, and so pay quite a bit of money to have it cleared and certified that it was safe for me. So it was quite a shock to my system to hear that, oh my goodness, there's asbestos in school, and my children went through this school. And so I voted at that time to table the purchase. Now, there were a lot of other factors of chaos that were going on, and so the decision was to revisit, because of that unfortunate chaos, to revisit every decision made in that fiscal year, since December of 2019. And basically, in that time period, I was able to do my due diligence. Poor Skylar Archibald, I am very good at asking probing questions. And so I was in his office the next day with, I need to talk to somebody. So guess what? He found somebody, and that person, I wanted to go in with the guy. Well, you're not allowed to do that for insurance reasons. So we started with, what I will call my due diligence, to be told and to be reaffirmed that this is a safe building. The 6th grade pod, which is where these children are right now, is the part built in the 1990s. It is safe. I will say that I will put my grandchildren in there when they're ever born. And I know at this time, I even just this week had a conversation with Skylar again, and with the maintenance manager, Levi Connor, who's just a gem. We're very lucky to have his skill. And I was assured that this building the asbestos is contained, that the school district, which housed our children for all those years, had the highest standards of care to protect our children. And so Levi added that is still in place at this time. So yes, there is asbestos in the building that is contained, and our children are safe in it. But right now, we don't even have our children in that neck of the woods part of the building. So I wanted to make sure that was added.
Thank you.
I'd also like, RJ, if I could, that the building has been approved for conditional use by the City of Seaside, the Clatsop County Health Department, and the district's insurance provider. So I just want to make sure that the facts get out there.
Michael, did you want to add something?
I have 50 years of construction. Involves hundreds of thousands of square foot of commercial space, as well as residential space. Mr. Huesman's choice of words, contaminated, it would imply that there was asbestos all over the place and in the air, on the floor, and everything you touched. That would be a hazard. The asbestos there is contained and is away from human touch for the most part. We do know that there is asbestos possibly in the glue that holds the tile on the floor, or possibly some glue that on the ceiling tile. Some of it is unknown, but we know where the asbestos is. The school district has operated there for decades, our children in safety. I know of no complaints or no health issues or illness that has ever come to the community through the middle school or our children's experiences there.
Thank you. Patrick, I'd like to ask you, as someone who, I know you've submitted many documents regarding financing of the district and numbers, figures, where you feel that the district might, fairly critical of the district, I would say, critical possibly of the district. Could you talk about specifically where you feel that the district's finances are flawed, if if that is a correct characterization.
Well, I'll start off by saying that the financial condition of the district has nothing to do with this board, and it has everything to do with that the district continues to receive tax dollars last year and COVID funds with limited programming. I mean, that's why they're in a decent financial shape. But even with that decent financial shape, in November, the district was posed to have an almost $200,000 surplus, and by December that had dropped down to $48,000. And so even when they have a surplus of funds, they continue to whittle them away. They've spent thousands of dollars on consultants way back when they had opus renderings done of the Broadway Middle School, on multiple consultants, multiple inspections, and a lot of the financial dealings. Even putting forth a $20 million bond in 2018 that would have effectively elevated the district to the fifth highest tax rate in the state of Oregon. It's just not financially sound.
You mean that Park and Recreation District?
The Park and Recreation, yeah, supporting the bond when Mr. Hinton was on the board. Supporting salary increases of up to 87% in 4 years. I wish my boss, also known as my wife, would be as generous. The board having oversight of program cost recovery that in 2014 was 47 cents on the dollar and is now 28 cents. So some of those basic fiscal guidelines and those types of things, I just feel that the district could do a lot better job at.
For Catherine or Erica or Mike or Celeste or Sue, do you want to respond to that? Is the district missing some things financially that are just going unseen?
I just think sometimes we have to be careful about the judgments that are made on the finances. Like, for example, him citing an 87% increase in salaries. Well, what is behind that? Could it have been that we were paying below the market and we decided to actually look at the market and make adjustments to people's salaries to be equitable? I think that making a judgment based on the numbers alone without the actual context is short-sighted. So I think being careful about that and trying to understand the reasons why there may have been increases is important. And I think the public needs to not just take those numbers at face value, but ask us questions, ask Skylar questions, because I'm pretty positive there's reasons for those increases.
Patrick, I know you're on the budget committee. Do you voice these concerns at the meetings? Are these things that you've brought up before the committee?
So last year, it was my first year on the budget committee, and I asked about the $150,000 towards the building fund because there was such a reduction in the program. The revenue that was going to the programs had all been reduced, and the administrative costs had gone up 14%. And I questioned that. I go, you're reducing all the programs, yet the admin costs are going up. And a lot of that was due to an $80,000 software package that the district purchased. But even this year, the admin costs, they tacked on another $100,000 onto the admin costs. And I just think that the programs are going to suffer this year. I haven't had a chance to analyze the program. We just got the budget the other night, so I haven't had a chance to delve into it. But this district is and I've said that this is the most overfunded park and rec district in the state of Oregon. We have the 7th highest permanent tax rate in the state of Oregon. And of the 10 districts that are close to our size, their tax rates are about 45 cents on the thousand. And we're at 92 and change. It's very high. Erica Marshall stated the other night that she wanted us to be like Newburgh. Newburgh's size of their district is over $1 trillion more than Seaside. It is. And their permanent tax rate is less than Seaside. But although they're so big, they have about a $3.2 million budget versus our $1.7 million budget. But for a district our size, we are very well funded. And I think you have to look at the community as a whole. You can't just look at this park district, you know? The taxpayers are paying a hefty price for the $130 million school up on the hill. We have other programs. We have Seaside Kids that is very generous to the kids of Seaside. Over $300,000 in the last 5 years. The Northwest Alliance for Trails is building 40 miles of mountain bike trails out in Colucci Creek. It can't all be focused on, there has to be a balance in the community. We can't have this
I'd like to say something.
$2.5 million property with zero equity that needs $5.2 million in repairs, and we need consultants to figure out how to use it.
Thank you.
They have.
So you wanted to?
I think it's important to know that Patrick has sent multiple emails to Skylar, and they've all been responded to for his questions. I am not a financial expert. I look at the fact that Kern Thompson, who also does the audit for the city of Seaside, has given us a clean audit for 5 years. We've had a clean audit. We haven't always had that company, but we have them now. And this year's audit was, again, clean. So I think and I spend time with Marcus and Skylar going through the detail of those numbers to understand them. And everything is within the percentages for where we are supposed to be. The exception was the software package, but that is to be a benefit that the long-range benefit of that is going to be well worth it compared to what we have had in the past. So I simply wanted to add that because I think it's important that the facts aren't, we need to compare apples with apples, not apples and oranges. Didn't we learn that in school? So please be assured that the financial management is stable, and we have a budget committee that oversees us, which Patrick is part of. And again, we just received the budget on Tuesday night, so I haven't had a chance to go through that yet. But I will be asking Marcus and Skylar questions. So I think that the taxpayer, the resident of Seaside, can be assured that we have somebody, watching. There is no fox in the hen house. There is a program here of people who are being very careful. Skylar did not take a raise last year. No employee got a COLA raise because of the pandemic. Some of the money is different because there were less children able to come. We were able to put forth an emergency childcare program, so there are expenses to that. The people we have employed with our district, thank God for them, because they went after every potential grant to be able to get sufficient funds for what was made available to Oregon. And being truthful, and we were able to receive money. Thank you very much, and it's helped us to keep afloat.
RJ, can I say something?
Who said it?
Catherine.
Go ahead.
So I've kind of saved up a couple responses to a number of the questions here. First, I sort of believe in putting your money where your mouth is. My children are in the old Broadway school attending the youth programs right now. And I fully believe that they are 100% safe where they are. They're happy. They're loving having the new space. It's bright. It's open. They get to use the gym. So for our youth, that is just a blessing. In response to Patrick's comment about a reduction in programming, I use those programs, and we expanded our swim lesson program last year. We added new fitness programs. We added new events. There was no reduction in programming. Some of the costs got shifted to different line items, but there was no reduction. We added more programming last year before the pandemic than any other time. The other thing that I wanted to address was not directly asked, but the financing that we used for the Sunset Recreation Center. There is a misperception out in the community that we are going to raise tax dollars, or why didn't we have to go out to the tax payers and ask for permission? Well, we used a type of financing that is available to special districts and special districts only. We have used this financing successfully in the past. We used it to build the warm water pool, which I don't think anyone here can imagine our pool without the warm water pool. We made payments on that loan for 20 years, and the payment amount that we paid on that pool is less than the amount that we will be paying on the middle school. So we have successfully paid off that loan last year, and we felt that we could very easily justify using that type of financing again to support the middle school.
Catherine, you meant to say it was more, so the loan for the learner pool was actually a higher rate than what we'll pay for the loan for Broadway Middle School.
Yes.
I just want to clarify. And I just also just want to point out that I think when I reference Newburgh, it's because that community has something to show for their tax dollars. Right now, all that anybody talks about is the pool. And we think that that's sufficient, and it's not. We've lost our gym space with the schools going away, with Gerhardt being fenced off. And the kids need a place to go. Our seniors need a place to come together and enjoy each other. And we have a bold vision. We're not sitting here talking about the concerns. This board right now is coming with solutions to the problems. We're being solution-oriented, and I think I just think that that's super important right now, to stay positive, to come together, and to actually have a solution rather than continuing to talk about all the problems without doing something about it. Let's be bold as a community. Let's go to the next level. Let's look around us. Let's look at Newburgh. I'm not saying we're exactly the same, but what a great example of what we could provide to our residents. So let's benchmark ourselves and let's go to the next level. We deserve that.
Thank you.
Something?
Al, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to throw on a few comments when they were talking about the financials and what good position we're in. And I would say, yeah, the district is in a good position, and it should be in a good position, because with COVID, no programs were done, and therefore the money came in, and so there were savings. But beyond that, the biggest issue I've always had is in the financials, how they're not complete. They're missing information, and they're wrong. They were mentioning what good shape they're in. For example, in December of 21, for the January report, they finally cleared the $215,000 flex loan. That loan had been paid down on December of 2019, and yet it was still on our books on December of 2020. So where did the $200,000 go? How was it accounted for? I don't know. I know that when I posed the question, the auditors came in and gave them adjusting entries to close the year out. And part of those entries included a prior year entry that they didn't book for a whole year of $105,000. How was that accounted for? Was that presented to the taxpayer? I don't think it was. So I don't know. And then the other part that really bothers me is this. They say the audit was clean. Well, of course the audit is clean. The auditors come in and make adjusting entries to make the corrections. They don't tell anybody because that's something that's internal, okay? So, and then what bothers me is, to the public, they only showed you the opinion page. Why didn't they show you the P&L? Why didn't they show you the balance sheet? So that you could make a comparison to what they was presented to the people back in June as the June closing year end compared to what the auditors say the June closing year end was. What's going on? What are they hiding? Where's the disconnect here? Another question. They say they answer all the questions. The school cost $2.2 million, $2.1 million, thereabouts. We took out a loan for $2.5 million, roughly $300,000 difference. Where's that money? What's it going to be used for? Nobody's answered that question. I asked that of the executive director. He referred me to the board. I asked the board that, and they said to go back to the budget committee. Well, to me, it's the staff that prepares the budget. The budget committee reviews it, makes comments, makes changes, makes adjustment, and they approve it subject to the board final approval. So what happened to the $300,000? Where is it? What is it going to be used for? And why is the taxpayer now paying for this $300,000 when it's not being, who knows what it's going to be used for or where it is? I don't know. That's my concern. I don't know, and nobody's telling me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did anyone else? John, you wanted to comment on that?
Jay, I was wondering, before this is over, can we talk about the pool just a little bit? I'd like to have some comments I'd like to share.
Yeah, let's, Mike, did you want to address the finances before we move on to the next topic? Okay, go ahead.
So Al, you know that I answered you on that question, Okay, so just so that we're transparent, I want to make note that I did, so the board and the staff have both worked to answer questions. So I just want to make that clear. What I am hearing you say, that you don't know the answers, but that doesn't mean there isn't fiduciary oversight. The board has worked really hard, and we pay an auditor who's highly respected in this state. It's the same firm that I use for my own nonprofit that has been in existence for over 20 years to manage our Kernan Thompson is a highly respected auditor and financial entity, and frankly, I resent as a community volunteer who is stepping up with fellow board members for you to make a claim that we're trying to hide something is unacceptable, in my opinion. So this board has worked very hard. We review financials every single month. We work with an auditor who's highly respected in the state of Oregon, and we follow all of the laws. So.
Okay, let's, I think Mr. Huesman.
Thanks, RJ.
Huesman. You would like to discuss the pool?
I would like to speak about the pool. Here's my concern. I'm concerned that with this particular board of directors, stewardship towards the pool is lacking. And let me give you an example. Last October, I had a half-hour meeting with Catherine Parker and Erica Marshall, in which I shared my concerns about the pool. Did anything change? I can tell you not a single thing. All you have to do is go into the entrance of the pool, take a look at the outside. The outside of the building is full of mold and mildew, as the sidewalk is. I would guess it hasn't been pressure washed in probably 5 years. When I came to the pool back in 2013, it still didn't look like it does today. I'm not proud of the way that it looks now. I'm ashamed. I wouldn't have my house looking like that. And this is one of the things I pointed out to these two ladies when we met. It used to be a crown jewel, this town, and it's not anymore. I wish the inside was different. Take a walk around the warm water pool. The tiles that cover the drains are actually dirty on top, and they have been for over a year. This is something else that I pointed out to them. Last Wednesday, I got in the warm water pool to do my exercise. There's a pile of dirt in the bottom, and the machine that's designed for cleaning it out was sitting not 8 feet away from it. It just wasn't used to clean it out. The pool has not been taken care of like it was in years past. And I would say it started going downhill in, maybe 2016, 2017. It hasn't stopped going downhill. The stewardship on the part of this board of directors towards that pool is simply lacking. The men's locker room is dirty. The men's shower room looks like my bathtub would look if I didn't scrub it out properly. There's no excuse for that in a public facility. And I don't find any excuse for the way the pool has been taken care of.
RJ,
Sue,
oh, sorry, I was just gonna, oh, Sue, are you?
Well, I was just going to say that you have heard me say before, I believe every complaint is a gift. And I have heard Mr. Huesman complain, and I look for what he complains about. I'm in that pool, the warm pool. I've been in the larger pool as well, but for 10 hours a week, I am there, and I am actually on the side, and I have been on both sides because I'm looking. Mr. Connor, our maintenance guy, knows I'm going to be the one saying, hey, did you know that there's this, or did you know that there's that? And while it may be a nuisance to me, it's a concern because I am a board member, and I'm going to ask those questions. So I do not know about a pile of dirt. I have not seen that, but I have, and I am not in the men's locker room, obviously, but I have gone in with Skylar to look, but I've only gone in once. I look at the ladies' locker room, and because I walk in, I don't spend a lot of time there because the point is to get to the pool, but I do look. I look around the shower areas, the drains, because it is my responsibility as a board member to say, hey, maybe we could do this better. I don't have a complaint, and my face is right there at those, on the side rail of that window over by those whatever you call that area where the water filters through.
did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just because I heard John say that it's never looked worse before, and I mean, I think as a person who's been in this community for 39 years, that's just not true. I mean, when I came back from college to see the learner pool and what they did with the pool, I mean, I was like, am I in a spa right now? I mean, it was beautiful, and it is beautiful. And, I think if you had a historical perspective on how that pool has shaped over the years, I just don't think you would be making those kind of comments. I mean, we're a community pool. We're a park and rec pool. This isn't a 5-star spa. We are doing the best that we can, and people love it. I have never once been in that pool and thought it was dirty, not once. I walk in and think it's absolutely gorgeous every time I'm in there, and I know our kids feel the same, but I wanted to hand it to Jackie.
So Sue, I, like you, am in that area, and I just have to disagree with you. I come from a background in retail where with management, you go out and you tour the stores. And the problem with something that you see every day, you stop seeing the problems. I go in there from that perspective and that background. I see that the big ducts above the pool are covered with dust and dirt. And at some point, gravity is going to bring it down into the pools. And that may be why we can account for the piles of dirt. So from what I hear, there is a device or system that cleans those ducts. But obviously that's an accumulation over time. I watched the merchants in our town during the shutdown of COVID. If they had the dollars, they went ahead and they did all of their spring cleaning and their preparation while they could. And I think there would have been an opportunity for the pool area to have gone through that cleanup when it was in lockdown. I'm in that gym, and in that gym I see things like the fact that the fan, one of them has been broken now for over a month. And a comment that staff made to a member with inquiring as to what happened. They said, well, member, someone pulled the chain out, and, well, that's something to fix for another day, and it's still not fixed. I see dirt that is accumulating on the different receptacle switches. I see that the ceiling needs to be painted in the gym. I see that there are chips on the paint in the trim. And yes, these seem menial, but you look at businesses, and from that perspective, you want to create an appearance that makes everyone very proud to be a part of it, enjoy the facilities. And in business, you look at Disneyland, they tout themselves for the fact that they need to make sure everything is pristine, because that way your visitors will take care of it themselves. So that's what I'm asking for, is always make sure that there is pride in the staff, pride of ownership, and pride within the membership.
Catherine?
Thank you. I would just like to kind of respond to a couple different parts here. First, to the fact about trying to clean while we were shut down, all the staff was laid off. We made that decision so that we could preserve the funds so that we would be in a position to reopen, because we did not know how long it was going to last. So there was not staff there to do the deep cleaning that you would expect. Second, yes, Erica and I met with John. He aired his concerns. We talked about them. We talked with Skylar. And I feel like just because you come and you complain doesn't necessarily mean that there's a problem that needs fixing. It means you have a perspective, and we listened to your perspective, and then we looked around and we went, things are okay, things are great. One thing that John has consistently brought up is his term of destruction of the men's locker room. Well, when I came on the board, I don't spend a lot of time in the men's locker room. I had never been in there, so I didn't really know what he was referring to. So I asked Skylar, I said, hey, after everybody leaves one night, can you give me a tour of this this part of the building that I have never been in? And I did that because I wanted to be aware and see for myself what the possible concerns were. And my perspective is different than John's perspective. I do not see things the way that he sees them. That doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong, but to me, our facilities are amazing. I like bringing my family there to recreate. I think it's a beautiful place to gather and to be part of a community.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Yes, please.
I think the ductwork that you've noted, hard to get to in the middle of a body of water, but I understand what you myself. But it is not a hazard, and it's not going to fall in the pool necessarily. But I think our pool is very well maintained. I've been looking at some records, and in the last 5 years, it looks like on the average we've spent almost $250,000 a year on materials and services. And in the last couple of years, we've replastered the main pool, we've replastered the therapy pool, we've replastered the jacuzzi. We've tried to maintain the facilities as best we can. It is an aging facility and requires attention constantly. We had to replace a huge sand filter system. The pool was shut down for a time. Material was back ordered. The COVID has contributed parts and services. It's unfortunate that we had to lay off 50 employees or more last year at the onset of COVID. By March 15th, we were virtually shut down. It's no wonder that when we went into the budget process that there was caution in opening up and spending money on programs. There was a lot of uncertainty. There still is now. It'll be, we have to work hard to attract new staff. But I think the pool is very well maintained. As far as the men's locker room goes, I'm very familiar with that locker room. And the improvements that were started, we're really trying to improve the men's locker room. The women's locker room is huge. That was created and finished around 2001, and the men really didn't get a whole lot out of that remodel. But a lot of the remodeling that was done in the men's locker room was done to enhance the ADA accessibility and to put in some energy efficient showers to control the use of water and hot water. There was an ADA bench to put in, and in spite of Mr. Huseman's thought that it was there for perversion, it is there for people to rest on. And
Thank you. We're running out of time. Unfortunately, it's been flying by. Did you want to add something real quick? Yeah.
Señores y señoras, necesito su apoyo para la posición de director del Distrito de Parques y Recreación. Hoy no hay representación latina y necesitamos una voz para darle atención a las necesidades de los latinos. También tenemos que ofrecer proyectos para los latinos y para hacer esto, para poder disfrutar la vida y vivir mejor. Pero esto no pasa sin votar. Les ruego que voten para Al Hernández y sus compañeros. Ya sé que muchos no pueden votar, pero es importante que le digan a los que pueden votar que voten. Pueden ser sus hijos o sus amigos. Necesitamos representación en este distrito latino. Adiós. Gracias.
All right. So my last question is going to be put you all on the spot a little bit, but since the Rec District Board job is to oversee and work with the executive director, I want you to go down the line and give a grade to Skylar Archibald from A to, let's stop it at C, or D, you know, let's not, but give a grade and why you think that grade is merited or not merited. Yeah, start. Go ahead. You're down there.
I would give him a C. And my reasoning for giving him a C would be there seems to be a dysfunction in the financial area. And to me, that's a very important part of the district. There seems to me to be a little bit of a dysfunction in the communications. I mean, he does answer, I'd say, most of the emails, and I do get answers. Sometimes the answers don't make any sense to me and raises additional questions. So that's where my frustrations are. I know he does a lot of work, and I'm not saying his work is bad, but I'm just saying that I would give him a C on the basis of I don't have the comfort feeling in the financials. I don't have the comfort feeling in what is disclosed overall. So therefore, a C. Thank you.
So,
I've been in this community since 1996. I have worked with Skylar's father, Lynn Archibald, who many hold in high esteem in this area, and I have known his mother, Joelle, and of course, his brothers and sisters, and I just recently, with my work with Aspire, got to meet Chelsea. So I have a familiarity with an amazing family that is just stellar, in my opinion, in this community. So it's hard for me to do a rating score, so I'd look at maybe an A- because nobody's perfect. But I really do want to say that I don't think the apple falls far from the tree. This is a gentleman who I hold in high esteem. I always get an answer to my question. I flew in from helping my son. I was out of state. I called Skylar. Skylar talked to me about what was happening that I needed to be up to date for on Tuesday. With a busy man taking care of many projects, I have felt as a board member, I always receive the attention and I get my questions answered, or I know where to go to further my answers. And I see a collaborative act. But on top of this, I want to say when we had, a year ago, when we had members of the board doing illegal activities, I saw Skylar's team of staff come together and support him wholeheartedly. And I find that still heartwarming because he's a boss to these people. And to see the full support that a staff like that of various people offered, you don't always get that. And so I'm very grateful. I think Skylar is a wonderful leader. He's still young. He's a little older than my son. So I think he's got more and more to give to this community. But I think when we are all looking at an offer of service to this community, Skylar is a leader.
thank you. Celeste?
So I think as a community, we are really lucky to have talent at the caliber of Skylar. I would give Skylar an A, not to say that he doesn't have room for growth, but I think what I look for in my own staff is coachability and people who are willing to take on the growth curve, and Skylar does that. I find Skylar to be caring, ethical, and dedicated. And as Sue mentioned, he oversees a staff that is competent and trustworthy and believes in him. And I think that is the mark of a great leader.
Thank you. John?
Well, I'm afraid I'd have to give Skylar a C-. I know that he's responsible for a lot more than the pool, but I came here before Skylar was here when Mary was in charge of things. And my point of comparison is what it looked like then and what it looks like now. And it's just not the same pool it was back then. Stainless steel used to shine all over the pool. The deck looked clean all the time. We're not seeing the same things that I saw back when Mary was running it, so C- is the best I can do.
Thank you. Patrick?
Will we have any chance for a final comment, RJ?
Yeah, what time is it now? 8:26. Yeah, if we can,
Sure, I just would like,
Yeah, we'll have
we didn't
one last
we didn't really have a chance for any opening, so I was just asking
yeah,
if we could have a chance for a
we'll have like,
closing.
yeah, it's getting
Just a
late.
short, like you said, 90 seconds.
Yeah, if we can, why don't we finish the grade question,
Okay.
then maybe we'll do 90 seconds and then out.
Sure. It would be unfair for me, from the outside looking in, as someone who has not directly worked with Skylar, to give him a grade. And so that's something I can't do. As a citizen looking at the district, that's the only view I have. And, but I don't think it would be fair for me to give him a grade from the outside looking in. I mean.
Okay. Michael?
I didn't meet Skylar until he applied for the job, but I knew his mother several years before when she was the director of Health and Human Services County, and I think I might have been chair of the Commission on Children and Families, which I served at least 12 years. Skylar rose to the top during all the interviews. He was screened by community committee, including the superintendent of schools and people from city council. He's doing a great job. He's got a different personality than a lot of leaders who sometimes are egomaniacs. Sometimes they put themselves before the district. Skylar puts the district before himself. He's a very quiet leader. He's gained the confidence of our staff and many people in the community. He's very reliable. He has tremendous integrity and moral responsibility as well. I would give him an A.
Thank you, Michael. Jackie?
Agree with Patrick. I just really don't have that much interaction with Skylar to be able to grade him. I would have to say, though, that he has a very large job. I have seen examples of his work through his preparation for the board meetings, but I have also seen at the pool, yes, I have some issues with the appearance, but I'd also would like to see all of the staff be more engaged with the membership. I'm friendly, I'm outgoing, ask anybody who's there at the pool with me. I say hello to everyone, and I would expect that from the staff as well.
Thank you.
So I'm currently the global HR director for Mercy Corps, which is a large international NGO. So I have a lot of experience with performance reviews and giving, feedback. And to be honest, I'm not going to grade Skylar. I don't think it's the best practice or correct forum to do that. So I'd prefer to stay positive. And I grew up with Skylar and his family. I coached his twin sisters in basketball. And what I know about him and his family is just high integrity, high care and concern for this community. Skylar is kind. As Mike said, he puts the district and the community before himself. He's humble. And he works really, really hard. I think all of us in this room know how hard it is to find staff in this area and to keep those staff. And Skylar has done that. So I think that's a testament to the type of person and manager that he is. And I really hope that will continue, and I have to admit it scares me because I wouldn't want to see Skylar leave. I wouldn't want to lose that kind of talent, and I definitely don't want to lose the others underneath him. I think we would be hard-pressed to replace the talent we have in this community, so good job, Skylar.
Thank you. Stephen?
I'm with Patrick. I don't know Skylar that well. I haven't had that much interaction with him, and I really wouldn't want to judge him from the distance I am from him. So I'll just go with that.
Okay. Catherine?
So I would give him an A, and we are actually going to be currently doing his review, so maybe that's a giveaway, sorry. Some of the things that have always impressed me with Skylar is during the tumultuous nature of last year, There were a couple things happening. One was the board. There was a lot going on with the board, and through it all, he remained steadfast and just kept his eyes on what was best for the district. And when every single member of the staff came up and signed a letter in support of Schuyler, that is a true testament to his leadership. I think you would be hard pressed to find another organization where every single employee stood behind their boss. That to me speaks volumes. The other thing, I mean, we're still in a pandemic, and his leadership and guidance through that is what is making our district stronger. And it's truly, he's district and community first. It's never Schuyler, me, about me. It's always what's going to benefit the Park District, what's going to benefit our community, what's going to benefit our youth, our seniors, our active adults. How can we make this the best district that we can possibly be? You know, at the heart of Schuyler is integrity and honesty and just hard work. I mean, sit on this board, and I know how hard that is, and I know how hard his job is, and I would prefer my job.
Thank you. Well, Patrick raises a good point. I did promise everybody 90 seconds to really say whatever they want, and if there's any topics we didn't bring up tonight that you want to bring up, throw them out there. They've been kind enough to extend the time a little bit to us, so why don't we wrap now? Patrick, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to say I'm running for the Park and Rec District because I'm passionate about our community as a whole, not just the district, but the whole community. I've been called a bully and accused of spreading misrepresentations about the district, which is simply not true. I'm not a vicious person, as claimed, but a citizen who is concerned about the district and its effect on the entire community. The current board claims all their actions have been transparent and by-the-book legal, but resorting to the fine legal print does not make an action ethical or justifiable. My opponent, Mike Hinton, supported a failed $20 million bond that would effectively elevated the district to the 5th highest tax rate in Oregon. My opponent, Mike Hinton, supported salary increases up to 87% over 4 years. My opponent, Mike Hinton, had oversight of program cost recovery that fell from 47 to 28%. I live in this community, and I want the Park District to be an exceptional asset, not a burden. I want the services of the district to be within the financial reach of all its citizens. We shouldn't need a separate nonprofit handing out free passes to those who cannot afford our programs. They should be within the financial grasp of all our citizens. And in order to achieve that goal, our programs and facilities need to be run efficiently and maximize the revenue from our tax-paying citizens. With your vote, I will work to achieve those goals. It's time for a change. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, you're the natural next person here.
We need to rebuild our programs, rebuild our staff, but one of the things we have to work with is having the extra space for indoor recreation at the Sunset Recreation Center. One of the big challenges will be making the necessary repairs, but we have offers on the table already from the Northwest Educational Service District, for instance, who wish to lease 7,000 square feet roughly, and they're willing to we study the use of the built middle school. Use and our respect my if the district were to expand, we might be able to reduce the tax rate depending on the revenue at hand.
Thank you. Why don't we go to position 4? Whoever, either one.
Thank you. So the only other concern that I have, and I'll just make it very quick, again with the Broadway Middle School, and I've heard everything that was said today, and it all makes sense to me. I think there's a lot of work. I think there has to be a collaborative member of work by the board to bring these things forward. I do believe in being part of the solution, not just part of the problem. I've done a lot of strategic planning, so I know what the processes are. I've done a lot of requests for proposals. I've done multi-million-dollar projects from inception to development for training and implementation. So I have a lot of skill sets that I think that will really lend myself to really being part of that future and really seeing those goals. But I do have a problem with the fact that it was mentioned the other night at the board meeting that the reason that the school district chose to and asked for the funding to move the kids upstairs is because of the tsunami zone, but yet we're looking to operate a school, a daycare in the tsunami zone. So I would like to propose some other options. So given the chance, I would like to work with the board to come up with things. And I do have the strength and for governing, and I would like to roll up my sleeves and represent our community.
Thank you.
I think just to build upon some of my strengths, you know, being an HR director, I bring that strength in employment law and just being able to help the staff and guide the staff on personnel issues. I think just my historical experience with the district, you know, I was born and raised here. I really grew up in those buildings, and I think having that historical perspective is important. I think both Celeste and I have extensive experience with grant writing and how to see a project, you know, come to fruition. I just want to reiterate again, this board has no intention of raising anyone's taxes. You know, we know that through grants, I mean, we just secured a grant for almost $63,000 just for summer camps for our kids. So it is possible, and especially during this time, there's lots of opportunities for that. I have a large network in this community, and I think I just want to direct people to our website, theprogressforsEPRD.com. You know, we have quite a few community members endorsing us. The Barbers, Mayor Barber has endorsed us, Mary Blake. So, you know, I would like to direct people to that and really check out, you know, what's going on there. We're writing blogs, we're, you know, communicating with the community. And I think just to like end, I really feel that our country and our community need more inclusion right now. We need bold ideas to overcome the problems that we're faced with. And I think being solution-oriented in a time like this is important. And coming together to be, you know, as one with positivity and unity is what's important. So.
Thank you. Stephen, go ahead.
Well, I had it all written out, but I don't think I'll do the whole thing. My experience with managing 6 branches and multiple facilities was always customer focused. I listened to the customers, I talked to them in person, and I always gave them an answer. I don't see that happening here. I mean, we heard it here tonight. Not everyone gets an answer or knows what's going on, and that's my biggest concern, is that the general public doesn't know what's happening. It was mentioned tonight here, for example, that there was going to be an effort not to increase expenses to the general public to finance the new school. Where did that come from? I mean, I didn't know that. I haven't heard it. There's no general notice that's put out there that this is what the goal is of the CRP, of the school, of the group. And to me, that's not acceptable. There should be a huge amount of openness as to what's going on and respond to the questions. There shouldn't be any rumors. There shouldn't be any rumors out there about what's going to happen with this new building. There shouldn't be any, that should all be addressed now. And before it gets to the point where people are asking a lot of unanswered questions, it's just, to me, that's my biggest problem, my biggest concern.
Thank you very much.
So my passion for Parks and Rec started when I was a child and I was part of the Multnomah Portland Park system. And I grew up right next to an old school that was purchased by the Parks and Rec and turned into a fantastic facility where I could go and take all kinds of classes. Now that I'm in this community and part of this, service has always been extremely important to me. This is not a paid job. We spend a lot of time in meetings, reading publications, all kinds of information is brought in. If you feel like there's, not communication, the Parks and Rec website has lots of information on there. We have a Facebook page. We put out a newsletter. You can join the newsletter mailing list on the website. I mean, these are all ways that we try and communicate. Skylar used to do a fabulous column for the Seaside Signal. I have a vision for what this building and this park district can be to this community, and it can bring us together and provide indoor recreating space, much needed childcare. We can continue to have a fantastic pool. We can have it all if we just continue to have that bold vision. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And position 2 to go. And Sue, looks like you've got the mic here.
I have several things to say. I'm not sure what the cards there, the yellow and red, are, but basically,
They're sort of like the signal to wrap it up.
So basically, what I want to do is simply say a few things. Number one, I am so grateful to live here and to be part of this community and involved with this Park and Recreation Board of Directors. I want to also mention that I think in this election, there is a clear, legitimate concern about the candidacy so that you have a true choice in this election on the Board of Directors, position 1. The letter I have in front of me dates from the 15th from our election person up in Astoria, that Mr. Hernandez does not live in the district. He has, and it is in front of me if you want to see the detail, but it says he is not a legitimate candidate. And so I am concerned that that detail is important to understand. While I want to focus on a positive message and go forward, I want to say that I am so grateful that we have our Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District. Actually, I borrowed this from Catherine. She said to me a few months ago that this Sunset Pool is the core. The library, the pool, the athletic activities, adding what Broadway Middle School, maybe it's going to be named Sunset Recreation Center. That remains to be seen. It is a gem in our community and a capstone for us to expand, and I want to continue to be involved in that. As our mission statement does say, Sunset, and I'm reading it, Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District invites and inspires our entire community to engage in play, positive life activities for you. That's every single person in this room and all of you on TV. Hi there again. But I want to say that there is an election. You have a clear choice. I want the most important message I can say to you as a citizen is please vote on May 18th. And I want to thank again the AAUW, correct? And Mr. Marx, thank you so much for having us tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez.
Actually, a lot of the points that I was going to have in my opening statement have already been discussed. But there was one item that I did want to bring up in my opening statement, just in regards to transparency. And that is, it always bothers me when I see the board adding items during the meetings. Items that aren't an emergency, there's no public notice, and there's no notice given to the public to attend the meeting, comment on the meeting, and it shows lack of transparency. And that always bothers me when I see that. I have a lot of knowledge of parliamentary procedure. I mean, I've got years of experience of being in a board, not on the board, but running the board and or being participation in a board. And I see that as a problem because my main thing, again, is transparency. And it bothers me when I don't see it. I think that, we keep clouding the issue with my residency. Maybe it'll clear it up when I get my voter's pamphlet and my voter's ballot that does show where I live. I mean, I'll be happy to take a picture of it and provide it to yourself, and maybe that'll clear it up. And other than that, I just see that the risk you run with a homogeneous board like we have today is that everybody thinks alike. You got to have diversity. You got to have people with different ideas, different expertises, different knowledges to shed different lights, difference on the subject. And together, you can come up with a better idea, a better answer, a better solution, whatever the issues are, whatever the problems are. So as much as this board votes together, they vote as a block, it seems, as I've never seen the board have a dissenting opinion during one vote. Granted, I haven't been to the boards that many times, so maybe I've missed them. But I think the board should be made up of a mixture of people to serve the community and something that's a little bit more akin to what the community looks like. I mean, I look around this board today here right now. I don't see any Hispanic people here. And how many Hispanic people are out there? There's probably a lot of them. So where are they all? Are they being reached?
Well, this isn't really a public meeting, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's not open to the public.
So anyway, I mean, I just look after the best interests of the people, the best interests of the board, and the decisions that are being made by the board. And I want them to be the best for the community as a whole and to reach all members of the community. And that's my aspirations and that's my goal. And just basically to bring transparency to the public. Thank you.
Thanks. District, or Position 2, who would like to start?
Sure. So I think I'd like to first just acknowledge the existing board and sort of the way that this board has turned around in only 9 months, moved from a dysfunctional and chaotic kind of situation with the board with high turnover, and in 9 months we've established trust and collaboration with the staff, decorum in our meetings. We have managed fiscal responsibility, and we've crafted a bold vision for the future. And I'm really proud of my fellow board members for all of the hard work that it took to do that in a short 9 months. Personally, I feel like the contribution I'm able to make to this board is that I bring with me over 20 years of experience managing a growing nonprofit that has a similar sized budget to the district. And with that, I bring experience with governance, fiscal oversight, strategic planning, and communication. Like Erica, I have deep roots in this community. I love this community. And I think Sunset Empire Park and Recreation District plays a big role in that. And I guess I'd like to close with a thank you to AAUW and the Seaside Signal and ask people to get out there and vote.
Thank you. John?
Very good. Yes, I'm here because of what Sunset Pool gave me. It gave me my life back. And I feel I owe something to SEPRD because of that. I'm concerned about the stewardship of the pool. It doesn't look anything close to what it looked like when Mary Blake was running it. I can promise you that because I was here when she was running it. And Sue will be glad to give you a tour tomorrow and show you. But all you have to do is take a look at the outside of the building. And I ask every one of you in here, would you let your home look like the front of the pool building does? Would you put up with mold and mildew on the outside? Would that be good stewardship? Would that attract people to the pool? It's an embarrassment for us all, folks. I'm here because I want to do a better job for the people of Seaside, and I think I'm well capable of that, and I'm inspired to. And I thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for all 10 candidates. Best of luck to every one of you. It's been a great discussion. for all of you. And thank you very much and have a good night.
Stromberg was here.